This is Chris Morrow at Comic-Con at Home, and I'm remotely connecting at Tin Fish in San Diego. And the panel is Fearless, Sinless, Ruthless with the Fleet Science Center. Hi, guys.
Hi, Chris.
Hi.
Would you please introduce yourself and tell me where your home is?
Of course. My name is Andrea Decker, and I have the pleasure of working for the Fleet Science Center as the Adult Programs Manager. And the Fleet Science Center is the Science Museum in San Diego. So that's where my home is. And I'm going to throw it over to Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah, author of Sinless, Fearless, and Ruthless, YA science fiction novels, as well as a television writer.
And then we're going to throw it to Nicole.
All right. Hi, I'm Dr. Nicole Henniger. I'm an assistant professor of psychology at Tennessee Tech University, which is in Cookeville, Tennessee.
Samantha?
All right. Hi, my name is Samantha, and I'm a PhD student in bioengineering at UC San Diego, so I'm based in San Diego. And I developed technology to study the function of the brain and the spinal cord.
Please tell me about your panel and how it went.
So I'm going to let the panelists start with how they thought it went and how they liked it, and then I'll chime in after.
I thought it was so fun. I mean, Andrea, you always put together really excellent panels, and you know, these women were just had so many interesting things to say, and I was like, oh, I wished I could have gotten on the phone with them, you know, before I'd written the books. I feel like they had so many helpful insights that, you know, it helped me understand what I'd written even more. So.
I think it was really fun to see all the different perspectives. You know, it's sort of, there's all these different ways of knowing and sort of searching for information. And I think we all kind of had that interest. And so it was really fun to talk to each other and see these different areas of expertise. And then, you know, searching through literature, searching through psychology, through sociology, through science. Like it was really cool to kind of have that interface.
Yeah, I agree. I really like the fact that, you know, people from very different backgrounds with different experiences and expertise could come together and like discuss something that's really exciting and fun and interesting. So.
Yeah, I love the panel because I like bringing art and science together. You know, that's our mission at the Fleet Science Center, is to engage everybody in the power of science. And with these panels, it's so great that we can show that science is fun and that science is everywhere. You don't have to have a textbook, you know, to learn something about science. And actually textbooks, they make it less fun, I think. I think these panels are way better to learn something about science than in a regular book. And what I really liked about this panel, it was a fearless and a fierce panel of women. It was just female panelists, and I thought it was just amazing to have so many strong, smart, funny, engaging panelists on the panel. It was great.
I want to hear about the book first, and then hear about all the insights and how the Fleet Science Center kind of ties in with it, okay?
Yeah, I can talk about what the book's about. So it's a 3-book series, young adult sci-fi. The main character grows up in a world where about 10 years before the book starts, this event happens where all of a sudden one day, if you do something bad, you you get ugly, and to the point where like your throat can close up and you die. You do something good, you become more beautiful. So everyone's like, okay, so clearly God exists. He's punishing bad people, rewarding good people. And so we'll just develop this whole world religion. Now everything's great. And so this girl basically grows up in this world where she's like, great, like I'm pretty, everything's fine. And you know, the book is obviously her journey of, oh, maybe this isn't quite what's actually going on, and sort of, you know, it's not a fantasy book, it's a sci-fi book. There's a sci-fi reason behind all of it, and we get into the science of that science fiction in the panel.
Yeah, what I liked, and I'll let Nicole and Samantha speak to that. So Nicole had some really good insights about the whole psychology of blame and guilt, and what that could do to a person, to mentally and physically, of course. And then Samantha had some really good insights of how sci-fi could actually make that happen, right? It's not, as Sarah alluded to, it's not God making these changes, it's something else. And Samantha had some good insight on it. So I'll let Nicole take it away and then have Samantha follow up on that.
Yeah, so one of the things we talked about was how We don't necessarily know what shame and guilt looks like in the body necessarily. There's no specific facial expression or bodily, but we do know that kind of whenever you're feeling a strong emotion, your fight or flight system gets activated, the sympathetic nervous system. And so that then can have effects on your physical appearance. So, when you're stressed, you think about how haggard you can look. So your body is trying to help you in the moment respond to whatever the threat is. So it takes away resources from your immune system and from keeping little things healthy or your digestive system. And so over a long time that can have bad effects. And also you can engage in bad coping mechanisms. So like drinking too much or overeating or undereating or sleeping too much or not enough. And all of those things can also impact your health in a way that would affect the way that you look too. And there is also a psychology of when we look at somebody, if we find them attractive, we actually do tend to think that they're better people overall. And so that's something we didn't actually get into in the panel, but that's another thing that's sort of interesting about the psychology of this, is that there's a halo effect where somebody who's seen as beautiful sort of gets benefits in ways they shouldn't necessarily, where we shouldn't infer that they're morally good people, but we do. And so that kind of is an interesting thing made live in the book too.
Yeah.
Nicole, go ahead.
Sorry, why don't you first before I jump into the
Oh,
science?
I was gonna say, did we talk about that study of how juries gave harsher punishments to less attractive criminals? Did we talk about that at all? That they did some study that it was like you have a huge benefit based solely on attractiveness and how you're sentenced in.
I don't know if we talked about it, but that's the halo effect in action. Or even if you have like the same essay and you put different people's picture on it, people will grade it differently. So if it's a more attractive person, they'll grade it as being a better essay, and they'll genuinely think it is. Like they won't think that they're just trying to be nice to this person. Like, oh yeah, that was a really good essay. Like, no, like you're being influenced by things you don't even realize, such as appearance.
Interesting. Samantha.
Yeah, so in terms of the science, I just wanted to say that we talked about like two different aspects of these nanobots. The nanobots are really, in my opinion, very fascinating and really a cool idea. We talked about how the nanobots would actually try to understand and interpret people's behavior and their own perception of whether they're doing something that's right or wrong, and like how morality can play into this. And then we also kind of talked about how the nanobots could potentially actually alter physical appearance and alter a person's health or well-being. So yeah.
Having the event online, how do you think that translated? Well, or do you think it would have been better to have something like this in person at the convention center?
I don't know. I think in person is always fun, right? Because people can come up to you afterwards and ask some more questions. And I think it's always great, especially for the scientists, to see that they get the same amount of people coming up to them and being excited about science as the writers or the actors on panels, right? I mean, scientists don't often get the love that that writers or actors do. So I think it's great for them to see that, and that might be missing. But I think Comic-Con being free this year and being online has the chance to be viewed by more people, especially young adults that might not be able to travel, right? They might not be able to see Sarah in this panel if it were at Comic-Con because their parents couldn't bring them here. I mean, and you have to get lucky with the tickets to begin with. So, I think that's a benefit of it. I don't know what the panelists think, but that's my opinion on that.
Yeah, I'd second all of that. I think for me personally, I'm not someone who does, I'm not an actor. I don't do well with being in front of people. So the Zoom environment is actually kind of nice for me. I feel like my anxiety is very delayed. Where when our link went live, I was like, oh God, we're live. It's out there. What did I say?
I really sympathize with that. I feel like that also, where it just sort of felt like a fun chat between friends. I mean, so much of our lives are online now. I'm teaching classes online, I'm having meetings online, doing research, everything's online. And so it just sort of felt really familiar. But then it is kind of weird thinking about how many people will see this, where it's not just going to be in a single room. It could be out there forever, for everyone.
Yes.
How about you, Samantha? Because you're new to the game, right?
Yeah, so I mean, I've done a few presentations in person, but I definitely get a lot of stage fright, and so it was much easier to do some. I mean, I've never been at Comic-Con or on any panel really, so it was definitely a lot easier to kind of start that over Zoom than in person.
I mean, I'd like to thank the Fleet Science Center and Andrea
Yeah.
specifically for setting this up. I think this is such a cool thing to be able to, you know, intersect the literature and science together. I think that's great. So I like watching the other ones too. It's a really nice series to put together.
It seems like the first time that a science center has really gotten involved in the popular arts to kind of like bring it together.
Yeah, we've started that, I think, with IDW 2 years ago, to cross their comics with scientists and have talks about that. And we just loved it so much that we started to participate in Comic-Con as well, because science, honestly, science is important for all our lives. It's important for kids because they have to learn it in school. It's important for adults because so much of our lives will depend on it. I mean, we've just unfortunately been showing that with the pandemic. And it's nice that we get a little bit of fun with science, right? We don't have to think about the pandemic and whether we can find a vaccine or not and how science is helping with that. We can just have a little bit of lighthearted fun and see that science is something that everybody can engage with. I love that. I think that's a great thing to do.
Thank you so much for the panel. I'm Chris Morrow at Comic-Con at Home, and we miss you, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks. This was great. It really was. I can't wait to go read the book.
Oh, great. Thank you.